Hi everyone, David here from daviddumaisaudio.com, and in this video I want to talk about which DAW should you choose. So I had someone comment on one of my YouTube videos, and they basically asked, I'm a new sound designer, a beginner sound designer, which DAW would you recommend? So that's what this video is going to be about, and basically the answer is it doesn't matter. This is the ultimate answer. It really doesn't matter. But of course, I want to dive a bit deeper into that and kind of why it doesn't matter, and then also give some suggestions so that you're not kind of left with like, well, which one should I look at? So first things first, like, why does it not matter? The reason it doesn't really matter is because basically any DAW will do. They basically all do the same thing. They all process sound, and a lot of them, if not most of them, have the exact same features. Now they will work differently. They'll have a different workflow. They will look differently. It'll take a lot more disk space on your computer. Some are a lot lighter. You can run it on in less than 100 megabytes. So there's some minor differences, but in terms of like the actual what you'll be using it for, there's really not much difference. All right, so what would my suggestions be? So basically I want to take this from a sound design perspective, specifically sound design for video games. So if you're really on a tight budget, you're really beginning, you have kind of no experience, or you're just kind of starting out and you're like, this is something I would like to get into and know more about, but you don't really have a budget for a DAW, then what I would suggest is just go with Audacity. Audacity is free. It'll do your basic needs. It'll cover your basic needs basically for whatever sound design you want to do. So that's the first thing. Just go with Audacity, start learning that and learn it inside out. Okay, if you do have a bit more of a budget, what I would look at is Reaper. The reason why I suggest Reaper is, one, because of the price point. So they have two price points. One is $60, and this is for anyone who makes something like 20K or less USD. So if you make less than $20,000 professionally, like from audio, if I'm not mistaken, then you can just pay $60 and you basically have that as a lifetime license. I think they update it, every couple of years or something, and then you have to pay to upgrade. But it's not like most DAWs where you have to pay every year if you want to upgrade to their new version. So that's really nice with Reaper. You have a low price point, $60, which is kind of unheard of, and actually I think it's the lowest that I know of in terms of DAWs. And and if you do earn more than whatever 20,000, then I think it's something like $200, which is still a really good price for a DAW. So and I should also say, for those two prices, you get the same software. You get the exact same features, exact same everything. They're doing this to basically help people out, right? So it's just So it's like if you're doing less than 20, just go for the 60. If you're doing more than 20, you go for the 200. So the next one I would suggest, if you have a bit more of a budget to go with, is Cubase or Nuendo. Cubase and Nuendo are they're basically the same software. Cubase is kind of like, if I would describe it, it's kind of like the foundation, and then Nuendo just has added features on top of it, specifically for sound design, post production, and audio editing, stuff like that. So for most people, you probably wouldn't need Nuendo. I would probably just suggest go with Cubase. Cubase, I think they're at 10.5 at the time of shooting this, so go for Cubase Pro. So with that, you can just get a lot of great features. And the reason why I like Cubase is, and the reason why I use Cubase is basically because it has a lot of good features for sound effects, but it's also like super powerful for MIDI. I find a lot of DAWs are really kind of lacking in that aspect of audio and their MIDI. So like, for example, in Reaper, you can do MIDI and stuff like that, and it's great for like basic MIDI stuff. But as soon as you want to get into more complex stuff, or like randomizing things or whatever, like it just doesn't have all the feature sets that Cubase has. It just is not as powerful. Again, but if we're talking about strictly for sound design, and you don't even want to do MIDI or touch MIDI or whatever it is, then just go for Reaper. Reaper has everything you need for audio. The reason why I like to think about MIDI is because personally I still do music. So in music, and working with virtual instruments, you'll be using a lot of MIDI because that's just how they connect and work with each other. If you're doing, I should say though, it's not only with music. Like even when you're doing sound design, you will still be using MIDI, especially if you're using synths or other virtual instruments for your sound design. Like you'll still need to be able to use MIDI. So it's not something that you can kind of ignore and not use. You'll still be using MIDI as part of your sound design, either way. So just something to be aware of. But yeah, that's why I would say, if you have the budget, you have experience in audio or sound design, and you want to kind of bring it up another notch, my suggestion would be to go with Cubase. All right, so I should say at this point that I'm pretty biased towards Cubase, and the reason for that is that it's the first DAW that I ever used and learned. I learned it back when I was in university over 5-6 years ago. Actually, more than that, like 8 years ago now. So I'm kind of biased towards it because it's what I learned first, and it's what I've been using ever since. The reason though that I do like it is because it's really powerful. Like I said before, it can do audio and it can do MIDI really well. It has a lot of features for that. The only kind of downside is that the price is quite high every year. Like you're paying something like $300 if you want to upgrade every year. That's at full price. So I usually try to wait for a discount and then I'll upgrade then. But if you don't, yeah, you're pretty much paying the same. You're paying more than what you would pay for the full price of Reaper every year. So it's kind of crazy in that sense. But again, it's a really powerful system to get the work done that I need to get done. All right, so the reason why I suggest Cubase over other DAWs like Pro Tools or other professional DAWs is because Cubase I find has a really good UI that's really kind of intuitive, especially for their plugins that comes with like Cubase Pro. They have a lot of plugins and they're just really nicely laid out, and you can just see what's happening with the audio whenever you're tweaking stuff. Not that other DAWs don't. I just, for me, like I was able to learn and pick up audio really fast and learn what was certain plugins doing to audio because I was able to, just because it looked really nice. So if you compare that with something like Reaper just doesn't have a nice UI. You're just basically looking at like faders and numbers and like words, and that's it. There's no graphics. There's nothing nice to look at. You're kind of guessing what things are doing, especially if you're starting from scratch. Like I really don't like that. So that's just something to take into consideration if you're really starting as a beginner. All right, so my last comment is going to be basically don't get hung up on this decision of whatever DAW you're going to choose. If you're looking to choose a DAW to upgrade or whatever it is, just choose one, learn it, and stick with it, and learn it inside and out. The nice thing about doing that and learning a DAW or choosing one is that you can always switch later on. Like you're never stuck with it. There's kind of this idea, like. Or maybe this feeling like once you pick one and that's it, that's the thing you have to stick with for the rest of your life, and it really isn't. Like you can easily switch to another DAW. Like yes, you're going to switch a bit of your workflow. You maybe have to change up your hotkeys so that you remember hotkeys a bit differently. But apart from that, like it's not hard to switch from one DAW to another because they all do, like I said before, they all do pretty much the same thing. So just pick one, choose one, learn it inside out, and then just remember you can always switch at a later time if you need to. Oh, and last note, just for Reaper, a lot of studios, game development studios ask for Reaper or some sort of knowledge or experience with Reaper. That's always like a bonus for a lot of game studios I've noticed recently. So if that is something that you might want to consider when you're choosing a DAW. Yeah, so just be aware of that. But that's pretty much it. So let me know what you guys think. Did I miss something? Miss some sort of feature or something that you should consider before choosing a DAW? What do you guys use? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if I missed anything, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.